Hello students, my name is Vaishali. I'm a faculty in School of Finance and Commerce, Galgotias University. I welcome you all to this presentation and the name of the topic is decision making. So let's look at the various topics that we are going to discuss in brief. We'll start with the introduction and meaning of decision making. Then we'll cover the meaning of different types of decisions, that is programmed decision and non-programmed decisions. We'll discuss the various steps involved in decision making process in detail, the difference between group versus individual decision making and which one is more appropriate under different situations. Then two famous techniques of decision making, that is Delphi and nominal technique. So we all know that organizations make a lot of decisions every day to fulfill their operational requirements. So let's start by defining the phrase decision making. Now decision making can be defined as the selection of a course of action from among alternatives. So going by the definition, we can see that decision making is at the heart of the planning process. Some of the decisions are small and minor and can be completed quickly. For example, if you just have to choose something as minuscule as choosing the size and color of envelopes required by the organization. Whereas on the other hand, the other decisions could be more complicated and far-reaching and requires more detailed analysis. Now, for example, if a company decides to enter into foreign markets, then detailed analysis would be required. So basically decision making takes place at all levels of organization and is therefore a very central part of a manager's role. So basically there are two types of decisions that an organization makes: programmed decision and unprogrammed decision. So decisions which are repetitive and routine in nature and occur on a regular basis are called programmed decisions. These are usually made by lower level employees in the organization, lower level of management, and these decisions seem to have very short-term consequences. Generally, the information is always available. You don't have to search for new alternatives. The management has already described some fixed rule, procedure, or method. For example, ordering of raw materials, office supplies, or even calculating holidays. These are all structured decisions as some formula is already fixed. Now, on the other hand, there are non-programmed decisions. These are not repetitive and these do not occur on a regular basis. Usually taken by top level of management as they have long-term consequences. For example, if a company decides to enter into foreign markets, or if a company wants to try some new product or new technology, so the information would not be readily available for these situations and decision making has to be done by collecting new information. So most of the models of decision making include 6 essential processes. These steps are: you begin with identifying the problem. Second, identify alternative solutions. Third, you evaluate the alternatives and then choose an alternative. After that, implementation, and then finally evaluate the decision. Let's look at these 6 steps in detail. So the first step in decision making process is recognition of the problem. So basically a problem is the discrepancy between the current state of affairs and the desired state of affairs. So unless we don't identify the problem, of course it will be very difficult to even find the solutions. Now, while identifying the problem, the organization can use a lot of data like comparing organizations' performance against historical standards, or comparing it against competitors, or even some expected future performance. Now, problem identification has to be followed by a willingness to do something to rectify the situation. So before taking any action, the problem needs accurate diagnosis. So to do a correct diagnosis of the problem, we need to carefully select all the relevant information and discard the information which won't be relevant. Now, sometimes decisions need to be made even when there is no problem. For example, a company may want to grow rapidly to capitalize on the market opportunities and will have to decide on what route to take. So now, after having identified the problem in the first step, the next step is to identify a range of alternatives. So now, while identifying the alternatives, the manager should try to identify as many alternatives as possible so as to broaden the options for the organization. Now here also, while managers are generating or listing down their alternatives, they have the choice that either they can look for some ready-made solutions that have already been tested and tried, or they can look for some custom-made solutions that will have to be designed specifically for the problem at hand. So basically what happens is that in today's business environment, many organizations want to apply custom-made solutions so that they can enhance their competitive advantage. For example, suppose there is an organization who's looking for growth and expansion opportunities. So let's list down the options available for that firm. It can grow by exporting its products overseas, or it can grow through mergers and acquisition. It can also choose to diversify the existing product line. Now, after the identification of alternatives, next task for the manager is to evaluate each of these alternatives so that the best one can be chosen. Now, each alternative will be looked at for its advantages, disadvantages, as well as cost and benefit associated with each option. Depending on the situation, the evaluation could involve intuition or even some scientific basis. And most of the organizations will try to use a combination of the two. Now, this evaluation of alternatives is very important as this will impact the organization, its employees, and culture in the long run. Now, after the evaluation of various alternatives, the next step is to choose the most suitable out of those. Now, if because of some reason none of the options considered is suitable, then here manager will need to go back to step 2 and begin everything again. And if there are suitable alternatives available, step 2 and 3 have been performed. So now the selection of alternative will be relatively easy. Although in practice, all these alternatives may not differ very significantly in terms of their outcomes. So therefore, the decision making is a matter of judgment many times. And in coming to a decision, the manager is confronted by many conflicting requirements that will have to be taken into account. For example, some trade-off may be involved in quality versus acceptability of the decision, or some resource constraint is involved. Now, going back to our previous example of a firm considering growth expansion opportunities, so the company may finally settle down on acquiring a very small company overseas which has a good geographical market presence. So after the decision has been made, now it needs to be implemented. So this stage of the process is very critical to the success of the decision and is key to effective decision making, because even the best alternative is worth nothing if it is not implemented properly. So in order to successfully implement a decision, managers must ensure that people who are going to implement it fully understand why the choices were made and why it is being implemented, and are fully committed to its success. What has been noticed is that decisions often fail at the implementation stage because managers do not ensure that people understand the rationale behind the decision and they are fully committed to it. Now what many organizations do these days is that they push down the decision making further down the organizations so that employees feel some sense of ownership in the decisions which are being taken. Now after implementation, the decision needs to be evaluated and a feedback should be provided. This process of evaluation should ideally be taking place at all managerial levels. What happens is that when you evaluate your decision, the manager can identify if any adjustments are needed, and in almost all cases some form of adjustment will be made to ensure a more favorable outcome. Organizations should ensure that this evaluation and feedback are not one-time activity, and they should form part of an ongoing process. Because as conditions will change, decisions should be reevaluated so that they are still appropriate for the organization. Decision making can occur either at individual level or at group level. Task force, teams, boards, these are some of the examples where decision making occurs in a group setting. Now the basic idea behind group decision making is that two heads are better than one. So generally the diversity of the group facilitates better quality decisions. But this will not stand valid if a group is inferior to the best individual in the group. So in some cases, groups will provide best quality decisions, and in other cases, the individual will do better. So to come to the conclusion about which one is more efficient, group or individual, let's look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of group decision making. Let's look at some of the advantages of group decision making. First, increase in number of alternatives. So group decision making allows a greater number of perspectives and approaches to be considered. Hence, it will increase the number of alternatives that can be drawn up. Second, larger pool of information. Now, groups generally facilitate a larger pool of information that can be processed, as individuals from different areas can bring varied information to the decision making setting. Now, third, since many people are involved, so by increasing the number of people in the process, it is more likely that this greater number of people will understand why decision was made, and this will facilitate implementation. At the same time, group decision making allows people to become more involved and produce a sense of ownership to the final decision, which means that people are more committed to the decision. And finally, since a larger number of people are involved in the decision making, so lesser coordination and communication will be required at the time of implementation of the decision. Now let's look at some of the limitations of group decision making. First, time taking. Now group decisions can take longer to arrive at and this can be problematic when speed of action is the key. Secondly, groups can be indecisive and they may choose to opt for satisficing rather than maximizing. These indecisions can arise due to lack of agreement among members. So, satisficing occurs when individuals grow tired of the process and they just want to bring it to a conclusion. Another biggest limitation is dominance of certain individuals. So, people who have either a strong personality or a strong position can easily dominate over the group. Another limitation is leveling effect. That means, so group inevitably have to compromise to reach to a decision, and this can lead to mediocre decision making. Now, mediocrity results when an individual's thinking is brought into line with the average quality of a group's thinking, and hence leveling effect occurs. One of the biggest limitation is the phenomena called groupthink. Now, groups can lead to groupthink, which can be defined as mode of thinking that people engage in when they are deeply involved in a cohesive group. Now here, people just want to maintain unanimity with the group. They are so imbibed by their team spirit that they do not realistically evaluate the alternatives. Their sense of group is so strong that they suppress any kind of conflict or criticism and just maintain their spirit of a group. So let's look at two techniques of decision making. One is Delphi technique and the other is nominal technique. So let's start with Delphi technique of decision making. So here there's a panel of experts and questionnaire is being sent to them in different rounds. So let's see the steps involved in Delphi decision making. First, there is a group facilitator who selects a group of experts based on the topic which is being examined. Now, once all the participants are confirmed, each member of the group is sent a questionnaire with instructions to comment on each topic based on their personal opinion, experience, or any previous research experience. Now, after the first round, when everybody has filled their questionnaires, these questionnaires are returned to the facilitator. Now, this facilitator will comment or prepare copies of the information, as in he'll prepare a summary of the information that he received from all the experts in the first round. Now, this copy of information which is prepared by the facilitator is shared to all the members of the group. After that, again there is second round of discussion, third, and so on and so forth. So what is happening is that after the initial round, the members of the groups are given chances to review their opinions. At the end, all the questionnaires are returned to the facilitator, who decides if any other round of discussion is necessary or not. So this questionnaire round can be repeated as many times as the facilitator thinks is necessary to achieve the goal. So basically the biggest advantage of Delphi method is that you can aggregate the opinion from a different set of experts, and it can be done without even bringing them together with a physical meeting. And also, since the responses of the participants are anonymous, you don't have to worry about the repercussions of your opinions. Now, if you look at the disadvantages, one of the biggest disadvantages is that it does not allow the same kind of interaction as we have in a live discussion. And secondly, since there are many rounds involved and then you wait for others' opinions, the response timing can be too long. So next is the nominal technique of decision making. Under this technique, each participant is asked to jot down their ideas, and then after that the facilitator of the group will write down each and every idea of the member on a board and also the reason along with it. So this makes sure that all the common ideas are clubbed together, and if there is any new genuine idea, then it can be highlighted.